Ladies and gentlemen, there are moments in life when a person walks into your world and everything shifts. Perhaps it's subtle, a conversation, a glance, a challenge, a lesson, and in that moment, we are often left wondering, why did I meet this person? No. Today, I stand before you with a message rooted in understanding the divine orchestration of our relationships. There's a reason you met them, unveiling God's timing. I want you to carry this. The people you meet are part of the architecture of your destiny. Some will be pillars. Some will be paint. Some will be scaffolding. They're only until the structure is complete. So don't curse the meeting. Don't rush the timing. And don't mourn too long when they leave. Instead, ask God, what was the purpose of this encounter? Because trust me, there's a reason you met them. One of the most misunderstood aspects of life is the belief that our interactions and relationships are governed solely by chance. But when we begin to view life through the lens of divine orchestration, a new clarity emerges that every person we meet is a purpose in our journey. Whether they stay for a moment or a lifetime, their presence is never without meaning. Divine encounters are never accidental. Each relationship, whether it's a brief encounter with a stranger or a deep, enduring connection, is woven into the fabric of our lives with intentional threads. These are not coincidences. They are assignments. Sometimes we are the student. Other times we are the teacher. And in certain moments, we are simply the witness to something God is doing through someone else. But make no mistake, there is a divine fingerprint on every connection. Consider the people who have walked into your life and changed its direction. A mentor who came just when you were about to give up. A friend who appeared when you felt alone. A critic who challenged you to grow stronger. These moments may have seemed random at the time, but looking back, you begin to see how precise the timing truly was. They were sent, not stumbled upon. God uses people as divine instruments to communicate His will, reveal His nature, or push us into purpose. Sometimes He answers our prayers not with lightning from heaven, but with a conversation, a connection, or a confrontation. You asked for growth. He sent someone who challenged your character. You prayed for clarity. He introduced you to someone who helped you see differently. You sought peace. He brought someone who revealed the storm within you first. It's important to understand that not all divine encounters feel good. Some are uncomfortable, painful even. But they are still purposeful. Just as sandpaper smooths wood through friction, God may use tension in relationships to refine us. Those who frustrate us often expose our lack of patience. Those who disappoint us can reveal misplaced trust. These are not curses. They are calls to maturity, to healing, to awareness. Sometimes divine encounters are brief but impactful. Stranger's encouragement at just the right moment. A brief conversation that sparks an idea. These little moments carry eternal weight. The Bible is filled with such encounters. Think of the woman at the well who met Jesus in a casual moment but left transformed. Or Philip, led by the Spirit to a chariot where one man's destiny was altered forever. These weren't scheduled meetings. They were divine appointments. We must train our eyes to see people not just as bodies passing by, but as vessels of God's intention. That coworker you overlook might be your next teacher in humility. That child you're raising could be the leader of a future movement. That difficult neighbor might be the assignment God gave you to unlock your capacity for grace. And let's not forget this. You're also part of someone else's divine equation. Just as others are sent to you, you are sent to them. You are someone's answer, someone's mirror, someone's push. Recognizing this gives our relationships depth and responsibility. We begin to treat people not based on convenience, but based on calling. When you accept that divine encounters are never accidental, you begin to live with deeper awareness. You become more patient, more curious, more discerning. Every meeting becomes a moment of potential. Every person, a possible messenger, and every connection, a sacred thread in the unfolding of God's greater plan. Time, in human understanding, is often measured by clocks and calendars, seconds, minutes, dates, and deadlines. We use time to schedule events, set goals, and gauge progress. But when it comes to divine operations, time is not merely a human metric. It is a tool in the hands of a precise and intentional God. Timing in the spiritual realm is not passive. It is strategic, prophetic, and purposeful. When someone enters your life, it is never too early and never too late. It may not make sense to you in the moment, but from heaven's view, their arrival is part of a divine sequence. A timing is not about convenience. It's about alignment. God doesn't introduce people based on your comfort zone. He introduces them based on your readiness, your spiritual, emotional, and sometimes even situational readiness. You may not feel ready, but God sees what's beneath the surface, your capacity, your need, your breaking point, or your breakthrough. This is why many people are frustrated. They want relationships, opportunities, or answers on their schedule. But divine timing does not bow to human urgency. God will withhold certain connections until your character can carry the weight of that relationship. He will delay the arrival of a mentor until you're humble enough to receive guidance. He may pause a friendship until you're healed enough not to bleed on them. Delay is not denial. It is often divine protection or preparation. Look at the scriptures, and you will find this theme repeated. Abraham waited years for the promised son. David was anointed king as a boy, but had to wait for the appointed time. Even Jesus waited 30 years before stepping into public ministry. If the Son of God submitted to divine timing, then so must we. Every season holds a specific purpose, and certain people are assigned to that season, and not before and not after. When we rush God's timing, we often mishandle the people he sends. We might misinterpret their role, take them for granted, or even push them away. On the other hand, when we try to hold on to someone whose time in our life has expired, we disrupt the flow of what God is trying to do next. Divine timing not only governs entrances, it also governs exits. Just as there is a right time for someone to come into your life, there is also a right time for some to leave. Recognizing this helps us release with grace and receive with wisdom. Timing is also a revealer of intention. Some people show up when everything is going well, but the ones who arrive in your valleys may have been divinely assigned to walk with you through your process. These are not seasonal visitors. They are covenant carriers. And sometimes the people you meet during your storms are the ones God uses to carry you into your next season. Another critical element of divine timing is how God prepares two people separately before bringing them together. You may be growing in silence, not knowing that someone else is also being shaped and molded on the other side of the story. When the time is right, your paths align, not because you orchestrated it, but because God did. That is the beauty of divine precision. The timing is so accurate, so purposeful, that when it happens, you don't have to force anything. It flows. In divine timing, God is not just thinking about now. He's thinking about your destiny, your calling, your legacy. He introduces people at precise moments to serve those purposes. You may meet someone today who won't make sense until 5 years from now. You may reconnect with someone after a long gap, only to realize that what couldn't work then is now perfectly aligned. That is the mystery and the majesty of divine timing. It works beyond your logic, but always for your good. In every human connection, no matter how brief or enduring, there lies a purpose. This purpose may not be immediately visible, but rest assured, it is there. God hides divine intentions inside ordinary interactions. Relationships, whether personal, professional, or even casual, often serve as vessels carrying spiritual assignments, lessons, revelations, and transformations. To the untrained eye, a person may appear as just another face in the crowd, just another voice in the room. But when we begin to walk with spiritual sensitivity, we realize that every relationship we enter carries a divine design. No one crosses your path without reason. Some come to bless, others to challenge. Some arrive to walk with you, others to push you. But all are part of a greater orchestration governed by divine wisdom. Sometimes the purpose of a relationship is developmental. God uses certain people to develop our character, teaching us patience, forgiveness, discipline, or compassion. These are often the challenging relationships, the ones that test our boundaries, confront our weaknesses, and force us to grow in ways we would never choose on our own. It is through these uncomfortable dynamics that God shapes us into mature vessels capable of carrying greater responsibilities. Other relationships are restorative. God will send someone into your life not to fix you, but to walk with you as you heal. These people often show up after seasons of loss, disappointment, or deep brokenness. Their presence brings a calm to your storm and offers reminders of God's grace and care. These are the ones who speak life into your dry places. You may not even realize you needed healing until their presence reveals the depth of your wounds. Then there are revelatory relationships, connections that reveal something you didn't know about yourself, about others, or even about God. These people carry insight. They awaken purpose. They provoke questions. They activate gifts. Often they challenge the version of you that has grown too comfortable, inviting you to see yourself in your assignment in a new light. A simple conversation with them can turn into a divine encounter that reroutes your entire trajectory. We must also understand that some relationships are seasonal but still significant. Not every person you meet is meant to walk with you forever. Some are assigned to specific seasons of your life. When their time is up, it doesn't mean the relationship failed. It means it fulfilled its purpose. The lesson was taught. The message was delivered. The shift was made. Just as crops are harvested in seasons, relationships often bloom and fade according to divine timing. And that is not a loss. It's divine rhythm. One of the greatest hindrances to growth is expecting eternal results from temporary relationships. When we misunderstand the role a person is meant to play, we either hold on too long or let go too soon. That's why discernment is key. Ask God not just, why did I meet this person, but also, what is the purpose of this relationship in this season? The answer may change over time, but it will always point back to your development, direction, or destiny. Direction or destiny. Sometimes we are so focused on the emotion of the relationship that we miss the education within it. Even relationships that end in disappointment have purpose. They teach you how to guard your heart, how to identify red flags, how to love yourself better, or how to lean more fully on God. God wastes nothing. Even the pain has purpose. And let us not forget, you are also part of someone else's divine lesson. Just as others have been sent to fulfill purpose in your life, you have been placed in their lives to serve a purpose in theirs. That kind of trust does not come overnight. It is forged in waiting rooms, in wilderness seasons, and in quiet places where you learn to say, Lord, I trust your timing more than I trust my feelings. This is what spiritual maturity does. It equips you to recognize that timing is not just a delay or a date on a calendar. It is a dimension of divine strategy, and only the mature will be able to see the beauty of it when it finally unfolds. As we come to the close of this message, I invite you to see your life and every connection in it with fresh spiritual eyes. What may have felt like a coincidence was likely a divine appointment. What may have seemed like a delay was actually a preparation. And the people you've met, whether they've stayed or walked away, were all part of a sacred process shaping you for purpose. There's a reason you met them. Some came to challenge you. Some came to change you. Others came simply to remind you that you were never forgotten by God. And while we may not always understand the why in the moment, we can stand firm in the truth that God does not waste encounters. Every person has a place in the divine puzzle, even if their presence was only for a piece of the picture. Let us be a people who no longer see relationships through the lens of accident, delay, or emotion, but through the lens of divine intention. Let us grow in spiritual maturity so we don't just endure God's timing, we discern it. Let us walk with the wisdom to embrace who comes, the grace to release who leaves, and the trust to believe that God's timing is never wrong. So the next time someone enters your life, don't just ask, "Who are they?" Ask, "Lord, what are you doing through this?" Because behind every meeting is a message. Behind every connection is a calling. Behind every encounter is an eternal plan. And truly, there's a reason you met them.